call came from a groundskeeper. He hadn't seen anyone enter or leave the old mission in over a year. The door was wide open, and something inside was making a sound, like breathing and gasping. When responders arrived, the air was thick and warm, like the inside of a greenhouse. Sweetness clung to their tongues. The church pews had been pushed aside, cleared to make space for a crude ritual circle, half chalk, half plant growth. Along the walls, scripture verses had been carved directly into the stone, their grooves filled with blood turned black with age. At the center of the nave knelt Halric Dorne, once a pioneer in gene therapy, now a ghost in his own flesh. He was still alive when they found him, mostly. The skin along his arms had been stripped away in tight, spiral layers, exposing muscle that shimmered with something not quite natural. Iridescent strands that moved when no one touched them. His face was a warped lattice of bone and cartilage, sculpted by some invisible logic. Where his eyes should have been, there were hollow sockets packed with tangled filaments, twitching like roots searching for soil. He was whispering over and over,
"It chose me. I am worthy soil."
Halric had once been human, brilliant even. A man who had spent his career fighting to unlock genetic therapies for diseases no one else cared about. But when he lost his partner to cancer, not suddenly, but slowly, in inches, something inside him cracked. He became obsessed with the idea that biology wasn't just broken, it was unfinished. That evolution had left us halfway, and that maybe we were meant to finish it ourselves. He left the university, bought a defunct Spanish mission in the Arizona desert, and buried himself in silence, theology, and code. There, surrounded by dust and memory, he began his final experiments. An artificial retrovirus encoded with programmable triggers, not just for cells, but for the mind. Not a virus that responded to genes, a virus that responded to belief. He called it the Godseed Strain, a synthetic organism that germinated in those who truly believed that they were incomplete and wanted to be remade. Inside the mission's wine cellar, investigators found walls covered in drawings and failed genetic scripts. Loops upon loops of branching diagrams, the words blossom, open, and yield, repeated over and over in varying languages. Blood samples harvested from his own body, labeled with phrases like stage 1 root bed and marrow communion. His final recorded journal entry, Dorne speaks directly to the camera with a soft, tired voice. In the final seconds of the tape, he begins humming a hymn, then chokes. Blood seeps from his scalp as thin, white filaments push toward from beneath the skin. And he doesn't scream. He smiles.
Faith is the enzyme. I was wrong to chase perfection through intellect. It doesn't respond to knowledge, it responds to surrender. I will become good soil. I will let them grow through me.
Halric is gone, but the thing he planted isn't. It breathes beneath the stone of the monastery. It hums in the silence between footsteps. It waits in the walls where the lights no longer reach. What he built was not a plague. It was a promise. And now it waits for those who are still unfinished. Its name in the scientific record is Spirivolta sapientum, but no one who speaks of it calls it that. They call it the Godseed, a synthetic ritual encoded in flesh, a blossoming that begins where belief takes root. I tell this story not to warn you, not to explain, but to show you how far a man will go when grief convinces him he was meant to be more than human. Activation begins with what survivors describe as an overwhelming sense of peace, a chemical stillness in the blood often mistaken for enlightenment. Subjects report a moment of clarity, as if their body is no longer theirs, yet more than right than it's ever been. Minor pains vanish, emotional trauma quiets, they feel warm, they feel loved, they feel complete. It's not healing, this is submission. Within hours, small changes begin. A sensation of internal rearrangement, often described as a crawling behind the ribs or an itch within the bones. Fingernails become soft and translucent. Blood begins to show pale, root-like fibers under microscopy, early signs of viral blossoming. After 24 to 72 hours, the body begins to reconfigure itself based on complex internal triggers, no longer under conscious control. The process is highly individualized. Spiral dermal openings forming along the limbs and back, revealing fibrous muscular growths. Facial reconfiguration occurs, skin stretches or folds in organic symmetry, often accompanied by cartilage expansion. Ocular displacement or complete dissolution, replaced by sensory cilia or root-like tendrils. Skeletal extrusion along stress points are seen. The ribs, scapula, and spine erupt outward and regrow into new configurations. Many hosts develop additional apertures in the body, mouths without function, hollow petal-like growths, or breathing slits in strange places. Notably, these are not signs of a breakdown. They are intentional restructuring guided by something inside the host that seems to know what it's doing. Each transformation is unique, yet always symmetrical, always floral. 2 outcomes have been recorded. Terminal rooting, where the body becomes still, kneeling or folded, and begins to harden. Bark-like dermal calcification sets in. A mycelial root system emerges from the spine or feet, burrowing into nearby surfaces. Victims are found preserved, still alive for hours, sometimes days, muttering hymns in languages they've never spoke. Or a continued blossoming, an extremely rare outcome. In these cases, the host remains mobile, but displays post-human traits, like enhanced sensory perception, altered gaits, or vocal cords that produce harmonic frequencies not native to human speech. These individuals appear calm, cooperative, and disturbingly empathetic. They don't consider themselves infected. They consider themselves fulfilled. No host has ever reversed the transformation once stage 2 has begun. Antivirals, immunosuppressants, and CRISPR-guided counteragents no longer have an effect after activation. And most disturbing of all, in post-mortem samples, no trace of the virus itself can be found, as if it was never even there to begin with. Only the changes remain. Spirivolta is not a pathogen in the traditional sense. It doesn't colonize tissue like a parasite, nor does it fight the immune system. It simply waits. Not in blood, but in places where we used to visit. It clings to the quiet, to the forgotten, to the sacred. It prefers environments shaped by human presence, but now emptied of it. Abandoned places of worship, stone floors worn smooth by ritual, ash-choked altars, wooden beams blackened by candle smoke. Rooms where someone once begged for something greater than themselves. There, the virus endures. Not replicating, not decaying, just listening. Attempts to grow the virus in laboratory conditions have failed, miserably. Nutrient agar yields nothing. Cell cultures break down before expression begins. The virus resists sequencing when forcibly removed from its chosen substrate. And yet, in the soil scraped from beneath a kneeler, it thrives. It has no known animal reservoir, its ecosystem is not built on biology. It's built on atmosphere. The virus finds stability in what researchers have reluctantly began to call symbolic substrate. Environments seeped in memory, repetition, grief, or longing. It's not magic, and it's not supernatural. It's simply too precise to be chance. The Crucible, the monastery where Halric Dorne completed his transformation, remains the strongest known reservoir. Every stone, every prayer-worn grove in its foundation seems to hold fragments of the virus, long after the host was buried. And still it sits, quietly, like breath held in the walls. In rare cases, individuals who enter contaminated spaces report symptoms despite no confirmed infection. Bleeding from symmetrical points, the sensation of roots pulling under their skin, a persistent sense that they are being watched by something inside of them. These symptoms vanish within hours. Blood tests show no viral presence, but they all report the same dream: a field of white flowers, opening in perfect sequence, and something beneath the soil waiting with patience. There is no evidence that Spirivolta can replicate without a living host, but its memory lingers, like a seed that knows exactly where it will bloom. There's no natural origin for Spirivolta. Its genome is too precise. Its function is too poetic. Each strand arranged like verses in a psalm. This is not a wild thing. It was authored. What Halric created was not a virus by traditional means. It was a ritual, encoded in biology. The viral shell is durable, but delicate. It clings to old things: stone, bone, sacred wood. It doesn't thrive in the blood, nor does it seek destruction. Its structure is meant to endure quietly, dormant, until the right conditions awaken it, the right host. Inhalation, touch, communion. There are many ways to carry the virus, but no one blossoms by accident. The virus is silent until it detects the right state, a profound neurochemical shift in the host's brain, not a random spike in emotion. It listens for a moment of surrender, when the body becomes still and something inside opens. It's not a spiritual metaphor. This is biology by design. The Godseed doesn't invade, it waits to be let in. And when the threshold is crossed, when all becomes chemical, it begins. At the center of Spirivolta's genome is a structure unlike anything seen in virology, a spiral-encoded regulatory array of gate locks. Their shape is fractal, recursive, and unfurls slowly through stages of expression, as if it's remembering what it's meant to become. Each stage rewrites part of the body, guided by viral pathology. Skin splits in petal lines, bones grow outward, clean and white. Eyes vanish or multiply. The mouth becomes a hushed blossom. It's not decomposition, it's reconstruction. Every bloom is different, but all of them echo the same intent, a kind of reverent, unnatural order. And when a host completes its transformation, it begins to shed. Not blood, not pus. Dust. Fine particles laced with dormant filaments, released gently from open pores or hollowed bone. These can drift through the air for days, settling into cracks, hidden in cloth, pews, and the breath. Each new host must cross the threshold on their own. The Godseed doesn't force itself. It waits. It has the patience of stone and scripture, and it spreads through those who are ready to be rewritten. To sequence it is to lose something, and to explain it is to flatten it. This is not a virus that wants to spread. It's a virus that wants to be believed in. Unlike conventional viruses, Spirivolta doesn't seek exponential growth. It doesn't burn through populations, and it doesn't cause fever or cough. It whispers, and it waits. The virus enters the body quietly, through inhalation of spore fibers, absorption through mucous membranes, or contact with contaminated ritual material, soil, bone ash, dried tissue from rooted hosts. There is no immune response, no fever, no warning. Once inside, it integrates into the host genome without triggering cellular defenses. It lies dormant, entirely inert, until its activation threshold is reached. This threshold is not random. It's emotional, but not abstract. And it's biochemical, but not visible. The virus is keyed into deep limbic shifts in the brain. Those few moments in life when something is truly surrendered, when belief breaks the dam, when you kneel inside. Only then does it begin to grow. This is what makes Spirivolta so dangerous and so deceptive. Its latency can last for years, entire lives. Even you can carry it and never know. You can walk around sacred spaces, contaminated rooms, and leave unchanged until something breaks open in you. That's when the virus unfolds. One host becomes a single blossom, and that blossom sheds spores, infinitesimal fibers that drift, settle, and wait. Each new potential host must pass through their own threshold. The virus never forces. It waits to be chosen. The Godseed doesn't behave like a contagion. It behaves like a calling. Epidemiologists tracking exposure patterns have noted its spread mirrors religious revivals, not outbreaks. Clusters arise after major loss events, after visions, after someone vanishes into the desert and returns not quite alone. This is not coincidence. This is a design. It doesn't want everyone. It wants the believers. Spirivolta spreads slowly, patiently, and precisely. It doesn't crash systems, it erodes identity, one blossom at a time. And by the time it shows itself on the body, it's already too late. No antiviral has proven effective. No gene therapy has reversed the blossoming. Once Spirivolta activates, the transformation is irreversible. What emerges is no longer human in a clinical sense, though often it appears calmer than the person who began the process, still, serene, and resigned. They don't scream, they don't fight, they accept. The only effective defense is prevention. Strict containment of contaminated environments and materials. Destruction of any ritualized soil or exposed bone ash. Quarantine and incineration of textiles worn by infected individuals. Disinfection of stone, wood, or organic surfaces using high pH flame washes. Mandatory psychometric screenings for anyone exposed to blossom sites. Subjects who test negative for the virus may still experience echo dreams, reoccurring imagery of spirals, blossoming mouths, or unseen roots pulling beneath the skin. These dreams don't indicate infection, but exposure. Individuals reporting them are to be monitored closely for emotional volatility, grief episodes, or withdrawal from social contact. Because what triggers the bloom isn't contact, it's permission. And when a subject begins to bloom, don't attempt conversation. They will often speak in calm, loving tones designed to disarm. Don't engage with their reasoning. They may attempt to rationalize their state, calling it ascension, healing, or becoming soil. Don't delay containment. The longer they remain mobile, the more spore fibers they release. Containment teams are instructed to immobilize the hosts, encase the blossoming individual in high-density polyseal. Transport them to a black site ossuary for deep burial or structural integration. Don't attempt to burn active blooms. They don't char. They open. The Godseed cannot be cured. It can only be kept from hearing you pray. It's the first pathogen that spreads not through air or blood, but through longing. And longing is hard to quarantine.
A bloom of wires in a garden of pain. Roots don't drink, but they still remain. Silent screams in the shadows keep growing secrets where the lost ones weep.
It's not a plague. It doesn't devour. It waits. In the dust behind an altar, in the grain of an old door, in the breath you take when you finally give up. It doesn't want the world, just the parts that are ready. The Godseed doesn't want to kill you. It wants to know you. It wants to study the shape your grief takes when no one is looking. It waits in the places you go when you've given up pretending. It waits in the breath you hold at funerals. It waits in your spine when you pray for something to change, even if you don't believe in anything at all. It hears you when you say, "I'd give anything," and then it asks, "Anything?" And by the time you feel it, it's not invading. It's blossoming. Not through your veins, but through your wants. Through every part of you that hurts. And there will be others, but none as patient as this. So if something inside you has gone quiet lately, if the sadness feels cleaner than it should, if you've started to dream in spirals, don't speak to it, don't answer it, and whatever you do, don't kneel to it.